On June 14th, the summer transfer window will officially be opened and clubs will start doing business. But while we wait for that day to fall, clubs have started already identifying their preferred targets, while others are getting some small business done. At Chelsea, they have already signed a defender. Welcome back to the Football Tribe YouTube channel. 𝐷𝐿 is my name. Be rest assured that through the course of the transfer window, I'll be keeping you up to date with the latest and most trending, most credible stories in the transfer window. We'll kick things off at Chelsea, where they have already signed Tosin Adarabioyo as a free agent. The former Fulham defender has put pen to paper on a 4-year contract with the Blues. But while they are eager to make more recruitments at Stamford Bridge following the signing of Enzo Maresca as their next manager, they will also be eager to let some players out of the door. Some will be let go either willingly or unwillingly, because the Blues have to stay on the right side of the profit and sustainability rules, something that I feel they need to do before the end of this month. That means players like Conor Gallagher are high on the radar for most clubs. Conor Gallagher is a wanted player by Tottenham Hotspurs and Aston Villa, with the Blues said to be valuing him at around £50 million. If they do manage to pull off that transfer, that means £50 million will be in Chelsea's bag as fully profit, because this was an academy player. Of course, Crystal Palace, where he had a very successful loan spell under the charges then of Patrick Vieira, would want his services, but I do not think they do have the financial muscle to afford buying a player for worth £50 million in that attacking midfielder for Conor Gallagher. Reports have also suggested that Manchester United have had conversations about the England international, although their interest is not as concrete as that of Tottenham Hotspurs and Aston Villa. Tottenham Hotspurs did want to sign him last summer, but never managed to pull that off. So that is one of the key stories that we will have to watch in the course of the summer transfer window. And then Chelsea still target or want to sign a forward, a striker, because they do feel that Nicholas Jackson is not enough, that Christopher Nkunku has suffered perhaps way too many injuries, rendering him unavailable for the most of the time, that they do need to sign a striker. And on their list is Victor Osimhen of Napoli, Benjamin Sesko of RB Leipzig, who is also a target for Arsenal and Manchester United. So those are then names like Dominic Solanke, who is a former Chelsea player himself before switching his allegiances to Liverpool back in the days and eventually ending up at Bournemouth, is a name that has been subtly mentioned around the circles of the Stamford Bridge. So we'll wait and see where their concrete interest really lies. But they do also acknowledge that before they sign perhaps the main preferred target in Victor Osimhen, they'll have to let Romelu Lukaku leave, because for some of you that may have forgotten, Romelu Lukaku is still a Chelsea player. He was only on loan at AS Roma last season. And on that note, therefore, Napoli are reported to want the signature of Romelu Lukaku. Now remember that former Chelsea manager in Antonio Conte is now the new manager at Napoli. Well, I guess the interest is very varied, because Antonio Conte also managed Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez during his stint at Inter Milan, where he won the Scudetto. So clearly, he's a player that he holds in high regard. But we'll wait to see how all that unfolds, because the same Romelu Lukaku is also open to joining the Saudi Pro League, saying as he approaches the evenings of his career, it wouldn't hurt to make some extra cash. But anyway, what dwell so much on that? The other key story trending or making the rounds in the transfer business is Julian Alvarez of Manchester City, who has said who is open to leaving the club because he wants more game time. And among them that are eyeing his signature are Arsenal, Manchester United, but more importantly, PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, have consulted about the availability of Julian Alvarez. The Argentine international is a wanted player, but of course, Manchester City do say that they wouldn't want to sell him. They want to retain him. He's a crucial member of their squad, but in his personal view, he's not getting perhaps enough game time. He feels he wants to play much more than he is playing currently, or that he did play last season at Manchester City. So, if any club is to lure Julian Alvarez away from Manchester City or away from the Etihad Stadium, it will be for quite a significant fee. I'm not sure many clubs can afford him. That's why the interest is so far limited to those three clubs, with PSG leading up on that radar. And we all know they do have the money. They will be saving some cash following the departure of Kylian Mbappe, there who was their highest earning player and who they had to pay lots of money in loyalties and other things and bonuses. So Julian Alvarez could be on the move this summer. But while still speaking, Manchester City have extended Stefan Ortega's contract. This comes in the wake of news that Ederson Moraes, the receiver, is also open to leaving Manchester City. Yes, Manchester City still wouldn't want to let him go, but like Pep Guardiola often says, no matter how good a player one is, for as long as they want to leave, the door is always open for them. That's how he let go of Gabriel Jesus, Alexander Zinchenko, João Cancelo, Riyad Mahrez, and a few other players. Cole Palmer more recently last summer, because he doesn't stand in the way of a player that does want to leave the club. So all those Ederson and Julian Alvarez are both crucial players, but Pep Guardiola won't stand in their way. Still speaking matters, Manchester City, they are interested in signing Wolves winger in Pedro Neto. Yes, they do want to sign Pedro Neto, but that's something, that's a story that we are waiting to see how it unfolds. While Manchester United, on the other side, as they eye to strengthen their squad, they are looking at players like Michael Olise, Benjamin Sesko has been mentioned, because they do want to add another striker in their attacking ranks. They do want to sign some midfielders. They do want to tie down Johnny Evans to another, 1-year contract to have him stay at the club. We all know that Rafael Varane is leaving. We all know Anthony Martial has already bid his goodbyes to the Red Devils camp there. Marcus Rashford is a player that could be on the move. Let's keep an eye on that one. Arsenal do hold interest, but it's a hard one to pull off. First of all, if Arsenal were to buy him, he would be an expensive buy, but also I'm not sure Marcus Rashford himself is eager to leave the club unless some managerial changes are made, or should the club decide to let him go. Whereas he had a very poor season last season, I still think he still has all his allegiance towards Manchester United. But let's keep an eye on that one. While speaking matters, Manchester United are interested in signing a Lille defender in Leny Yoro. Leny Yoro is a very industrious player, very decent defender, still 18 years of age. He's being eyed by other clubs like Chelsea, who have mentioned them in their ranks, but Manchester United do lead in that pursuit. It is also reported that Real Madrid have concrete interest in the defender, but again, wait to see how it unfolds. When two clubs come for you and they're Manchester United and Real Madrid, sometimes the decision can be hard to make, because they're both gigantic clubs. They do have the money to sign players. They do have the money to pay players good wages. So clearly, it may not be as simple as it may sound to some of the Manchester United fans out there, but they do. United do hold strong interest in the player. So those are some of the key names that are in the transfer market that are making rounds as far as major news stories go. But at Manchester United, there's still a lot of lingering feelings in terms of who will be the next manager for the Red Devils next season. Erik ten Hag is still waiting for confirmation from his bosses that he will be serving Manchester United for the remaining 1 year of his contract, or whether they will be terminating his contract. and then have a new manager come in. It has been widely reported that at Manchester United, they have discussed the possibility of Thomas Tuchel as their next manager as they try to build this new project with Ineos. Names like Mauricio Pochettino have been discussed, and like previously I have mentioned on this particular platform that Graham Potter has been discussed. It has been reported in the UK that Brighton have informed Graham Potter that he won't be considered as a returnee manager for Brighton and Hove Albion at the Amex Stadium, but you can never say never. Anything is possible in football. We all know that Jose Mourinho has since moved to Fenerbahce, where he did say that he is not interested in any of his former players at Roma, because speculation had started to point a few fingers on names like Paul Dybala there, the likes of Nicolo Zaniolo. But again, we wait to see how things will unfold in the transfer market. Arsenal do want a left back, they want a goalkeeper, they do want a midfielder, they do want a forward, and that's why they're interested in players like Zubimendi in that midfield. Names like Douglas Luiz and Bruno Guimaraes have all been mentioned. Alexander Isak has been mentioned, although Newcastle will not be eager to let Alexander Isak go. Still speaking Arsenal players, Alexander Zinchenko is believed to be a target for Bayern Munich manager in Vincent Kompany, and so, as well as Albert Sambilokonga, who did say that this summer he will definitely be leaving Arsenal. So, and then they have that impending departure of Thomas Partey. That means they will need to even bring in an extra player still in midfield, Emily Smith-Rowe. Reports do suggest that they are open to letting him go should a good offer be brought in. Players like Eddie Nketiah will be leaving, as well as Reece Nelson will be up for sale. Of course, it's been hard for Arsenal to sell players in recent times, just as hard as it's been for teams like Manchester United in terms of trying to sell players for big money. But Manchester United do need an overhaul, especially right from defense, midfield, and maybe a little bit of additions in their forward lines. That's why Michael Olise is a hot cake in the UK. Remember, there was interest from Chelsea for Michael Olise last summer, but then Crystal Palace, under the charges of then Roy Hodgson, managed to tie him to a long-term deal, so he did not move. And him being on a long-term deal, I do not think Crystal Palace will negotiate for any lesser pennies. So if he is to move away, he could quite cost an arm and a leg for whichever club that may want to sign him, because it is also reported that Manchester City do have his eyes on them should they fail to get Pedro Neto from Wolverhampton Wanderers. Anyways, like I said, we'll be mainly focusing on the key stories that your clubs, the key players that your clubs are interested in. Of course, there's lots of others that they would want to sign, but for now, we'll keep it on the main headlines as we move into the full swing transfer window. And be sure that when you stay or when you keep tuned to the Football Tribe, I'll bring you the latest and hottest news from the world of transfers as we also enter the Euros that do kick off on June 14th. There, Germany hosting that tournament, and I think it will be opened with a fixture between Germany and Scotland. England were beaten by a goal to nil by Iceland last night, and England fans are obviously not happy. Some people feel England is ill prepared for the tournament and all those sorts of things. But while they discuss that, Manchester United is also reported to have some bit of interest in the England manager in Gareth Southgate. The former Middlesbrough defender is a wanted man, or is an appreciated man by one of the stakeholders in Manchester United. That's Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So keep your eyes peeled or keep your tabs on that story as well. Anything could happen. We all do remember in 2018 that Julian Lopetegui dumped his national team in Spain when he had been offered the job at Real Madrid. So we can never say never, even when Gareth Southgate still does pledge his allegiance to his country. Otherwise, that's it for me for now. Stay locked on the channel, and I'll see you next time. Stay blessed and have a wonderful weekend.